This is a Theater Retrospective, 100 Years of Bluffton University Theatrical Productions. This is an exhibit produced by the Bluffton University Archives in conjunction with the 100th anniversary of the May Day theatrical production here at Bluffton University. This is Carrie Phillips, Archives and Special Collections Librarian, and I'll be your tour guide through this exhibit. The exhibit was up in public for May Day weekend 2015, and I've had a number of requests for some type of video recording so that people from far away can see the exhibit as well. And so I hope you'll enjoy this slideshow of narrated photographs of the exhibit, and please let me know what you think. The first display in the exhibit is a tribute to Everybody, which was Bluffton's very first May Day theatrical production. The Bluffton News writes, following a ladies' chorus, the play Everybody was presented on a stage near the throne. The background of the stage, formed by branches and foliage, made for an excellent setting for the play. A piano concealed by shrubbery furnished the musical accompaniments. The play, written by Miss Helen Kennel, a member of the senior class, depicts the life of the ordinary boy and girl from the earliest school days to the marriage altar. The leading roles, every girl and every boy, were taken by Miss Kennel and Clifton Sprunger. Among the characters appearing in the play were Little Jack Horner, Old King Cole, Jack Sprat, Little Miss Muffet, Bo Peep, Old Mother Hubbard, the Old Woman That Lived in a Shoe, and Humpty Dumpty. The costumes were especially novel and unique. I chose to organize the exhibit around different performance spaces where theater productions have taken place. And the first such performance space I chose to highlight in this exhibit was the Tom Thumb Theater. This was a 50-seat performance space constructed in 1939 on the top floor of Berkey Science Hall and was used from November of 1939 through the spring of 1941 for public performances of one-act plays by Bluffton College's Thespian Dramatic Society. The Thespians suffered a severe shortage of membership in the World War II years, and they did attempt a revival beginning in 1945. However, plans to overhaul the speech department were announced in 1948, and with the recently remodeled Ramsire Chapel available as a performance space, the Tom Thumb Theater was converted into the campus radio station. These images that you see here on your screen are from two different one-act plays performed in the Tom Thumb Theater. And the Whitmarsum, which is the student newspaper of the day, reported that the December 1939 admission price for the Tom Thumb Theater was just 20 cents. The next display features Ramsire Chapel, also known as Ramsire Auditorium or Ramsire Theater, depending on which program you happen to be looking at. Having lecture space to address a large audience has been an important feature of Bluffton's College Hall since the institution's beginning. However, few, if any, theatrical productions were staged in the College Chapel until after the 1940 renovation of the space. Dedication exercises for the newly remodeled College Chapel took place on Friday, January 17, 1941. That evening, Paul W. Stauffer directed The Lost Church as the closing event of the day's festivities. The junior class performed Lavender and Old Lace in the space a few months later. In November of that year, the Board of Trustees named the chapel after A.C. Ramsire, a trustee from Smithville, Ohio, for his donation, which facilitated the renovation. In 2002, Ramsire Auditorium underwent another renovation to modernize the performance space with updated lighting and furnishings, and most of our fall play productions are held here. This exhibit features a photograph of what the space would have looked like following that 1940 renovation, as well as a few original publicity posters, programs, and costumes from other performances in this space. We know from the description in the Bluffton News that the very first May Day theatrical production took place on campus outdoors, but the Bluffton High School Auditorium served as the venue for most May Day musicals through to the 1950s. The Bluffton High School Auditorium was used for Bluffton College productions as early as the 1917 May Day production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and hosted plays and musicals through to the April 1956 play Lute Song. The photograph in this display display shows the cast of the junior class play Peg o' My Heart as staged in the BHS Auditorium in February of 1936. This display also includes some original publicity from George Washington Slept Here and The Imaginary Invalid, both productions produced by speech department students and taking place in the high school auditorium. It's unfortunate that there wasn't time and space to feature all of the gifted professors who have worked with students in theater at Bluffton through the years. But many would say that Boyd D. Smucker could be considered the father of theater at Bluffton. Smucker began his career at Bluffton College with the duties of recruitment and fundraising, the tasks of the field secretary. But David J. Rempel Smucker writes in the biography of his grandfather that directing plays was one of Boyd's most enjoyable activities at the college, and he directed or co-directed at least 26 dramas in 20 years. Smucker directed the second May Day theatrical production, Enoch Arden, in 1916, and went on to raise the profile of speech and theatrical studies and performance at Bluffton College over the scope of his career. A highlights list of Smucker's career could include the December 1926 production of The Fool, one example of Smucker's efforts to bring a social values message to the stage. Smucker gives high praise to the junior class students, noting in the December 18th Whitmarsum that he had, quote, never had such a profound reaction, unquote, to the students' performance, and that, quote, the work of The Fool, from the standpoint of dramatic art, stands as the high water mark in Bluffton College, end quote. Smucker was also quite fond of Shakespeare, and tradition was born from his 1931 outdoor staging of A Midsummer Night's Dream in the floodplain between Musselman Library and the Little Riley Creek. Smucker directed his final drama, The Merchant of Venice, for May Day 1934 and succumbed to cancer 2 years later. A moment ago I mentioned Shakespeare. Boyd Smucker brought Shakespeare to Bluffton College in the fall of 1916 when the men of his dramatics class performed the second act of Julius Caesar. Later the following spring, Smucker staged a May Day performance of A Midsummer Night's Dream in the high school auditorium. Since that first performance of Julius Caesar, at least 20 performances of Shakespeare's plays have been cast with Bluffton College thespians. The costumes you see in this picture and accessories may have been used in one or more of those productions. A number of performances of Shakespeare plays have been held outdoors in the natural beauty of the Bluffton campus. As You Like It, A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Merchant of Venice, and The Taming of the Shrew have all been May Day productions held outdoors in more than 1 year. The next display features Founders Hall as a theatrical performance space. The opening of the new competition court space in the mid-1950s did more than just raise the profile of athletics for Bluffton College. Founders Hall also provided a location for larger-scale theatrical productions to be held on campus rather than in the Bluffton High School auditorium. The first production staged in Founders Hall took place in April 1957. Angel Street, directed by Dr. Dale Dickey, was staged in the round in 2 performances with a cast of 7. Later that spring, Dickey teamed up with Earl Lehman to direct Plain and Fancy, the first May Day musical to be staged in Founders Hall. More than 65 productions have been staged in Founders Hall, some using the stage, some in the round or semi-round, and some using the playing surface with backdrops and drapery to define the set. The venue has hosted a number of repeat musical performances, including Oklahoma in 1977 and 1993, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, 1979 and 2014, and The Music Man, 1972, 1995, and 2012. Since its construction in 1996, the 300-seat Yoder Recital Hall has provided the stage for 4 May Day musical productions: Smoke on the Mountain in 1998, Quilters in 2001, Children of Eden in 2006, and Songs for a New World in 2013. In preparation for this exhibit, my assistants and I have been digitizing a number of the historic photographs related to theater productions that are part of the university archives, but there were a number of pictures we weren't able to identify completely. So we placed a lot of these photographs out on a board underneath some polyester film and invited visitors to the exhibit to use a sticky note and tell us what they knew about these unidentified photos. And you can see that this experiment worked fairly well. Hopefully we'll be able to scan these photos too and add them to the images that are already online at our Bluffton University Memory website. We also invited guests to the exhibit to share their theater memories in a blank notebook, which was placed as part of the exhibit. And we allowed users to browse a printed paper copy of the 100 Years of Bluffton University Theater Productions, the giant list that we were able to compile from archival collections and the student newspaper and other sources. And that's a wrap. A Theater Retrospective, 100 Years of Theater Productions at Bluffton University. Thanks for watching.